From the Music for All podcast network, I'm David Duarte. Welcome to Culture Before Content.
The culture you build in your classroom is the cornerstone.
Get to know the kids first, understand who they are.
Be a listener. Listen to your students.
This podcast asks a simple question. What kind of environment creates the best opportunity for students to learn?
Create the environment for those students to flourish.
Creating any kind of culture takes time.
If you don't set up your system, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Culture begins to take shape well before the first rehearsal or performance. In this podcast, our guests share experiences and key moments that have contributed to their success.
They can do anything they want to do, whether that's through music or anything else in their life.
Accept your humanity in the midst of other humans.
Band programs are a reflection of their leadership.
Each episode encourages you to explore their ideas, reflect on your path, and consider what matters to you most. This podcast proudly supports Music for All's mission to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music.
Culture.
You ready to have some fun? Let's get to it.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I am so glad you're here. I am not David Duarte. I'm Lincoln Rowe, the ADHD band director, and this is the 100th episode of the Culture Before Content podcast. We are so excited to be celebrating our previous 99 episodes that have focused on creating a positively life-changing culture in band rooms or band halls, if you're in Texas, all across the country. Would love for you to make sure and post in the comments section on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever streaming site you are using to watch our episode this evening, because some of our best conversations will actually come from things that you say live during the show. Our guest this evening is normally our host, and joining us from Vancouver, Washington, David Duarte.
Hey,
David, look at you. So
my
excited
gosh.
to have you.
Yeah, this feels so backwards. But
I know. Yes, you look great. Well, hey, David, normally, like we talked about a little bit already, we get to hear things about you sort of throughout the course of an interview, maybe little interjections here and there. But I really think that a lot of our friends out there would like to take some time and learn more about the man, the myth, the legend, David Duarte.
I think it's more myth than legend. we will go with what it is, but I have a long story. Let's see. I could actually go. I'm that guy. I can go right back to the beginning. Like I can tell you, I was born on a Monday. It was March 4th, 1968, 12:24 p.m., St. Joseph's Hospital. So we can go from there. It was like 72 degrees. Oh my God, that was like shortly after for looking at the picture. But anyway, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. And I knew there's my brother and my sisters and my mom and dad. But my brother, I went to his concert when I think he was in 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. And I saw the saxophone and I looked at my mother and I said, I'm going to play that. And she said, yeah, you're going to change your mind. And being the kid that I was, I never did. I totally knew I was going to play sax from the get-go. But grew up in Phoenix, went to Thunderbird High School. Oddly, kind of the word Phoenix. Went to the University of Arizona. Studied, of course, marketing and finance for 3.5 years because I thought that would be the ultimate way to make some money. But then come to find out, you got to kind of enjoy life a little bit. And so I started working with Amphitheater High School in Tucson. And next thing I know, I'm like telling my parents in our Hardee's, I think I should probably be a music major. And then my mom goes, well, what took you so long? So it was kind of fun. Yeah, there's Gordon Wildeford, my childhood friend. Him and I he knows this story. We tell all the time. We went to Wrath of Khan together. We met at music camp and we had been lifelong friends. And he's a director up here in Vancouver, Washington. Actually, he's at Woodland, Washington, but he lives in Vancouver. Let's see. After University of Arizona, became the marching band arranger and a grad assistant at University of Minnesota. My dad took ill, so I went back to Phoenix. Became the assistant director at Thunderbird High School, where I graduated from, and also a choir teacher. There's my first year on the left. Oh, yay. Anyway, I taught at a bunch of high schools. I did that magical thing, got ripped after 2 years of teaching. Then I went to Arcadia High School, which is famous for two things: Steven Spielberg and Linda Carter, and Scott Lang, if you know that guy. And then so I taught there for 4 years. I decided to get my master's in saxophone performance at Arizona State. But then I was also working and got offered the Marcos Deniza band director position. That's a whole book chapter in Scott, because that's my ultimate failure in my personal thing. Went to Deer Valley High School, became the fine arts coordinator. That lasted for 19 years, decided to retire. And then took the job in Nashville School of the Arts. Thank you, Nola Jones. And then this thing called COVID, I don't know if you've heard of it, hit. Oh yeah. And then ended up at Washougal High School in Washington, and then Evergreen High School, where I'm at now with my Gen X band director friend, Mr. Craig Gustafson. But that's my history story. But in essence, I'm a sax player who became a music teacher, admin, and just that's it. That's what shaped my world.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing that you said that I think probably a lot of our guests caught on to was you were born on March 4th. I mean, let's talk how, there's no other way that I think your life could have gone being born on March 4th.
Well, I could have been a waltz, because it's also 3/4 if you think about it.
Oh, well played. I see what you did there. All right. Well, hey, we have, like we said, you've been doing this for 99 episodes. You're the one that got this thing off the ground. I remember watching the very first episode with Matt Wood, correct?
That is correct. But actually, it's kind of a little funny story. It'll come up later, I'm pretty sure. But it was actually the second episode that I recorded, because the first episode I did was with Scott Lang, because we recorded the first two. But then the first one we showed was the one with Matt Wood. And so, yeah, that was all the way back then.
Wow, that was so long ago. Well, we have a few congratulations here that we're going to put one up here on the screen. We've had some people chiming in all week and just excited about the thing that you've built here. So congratulations, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of the podcast. It was an honor to have the chance to talk and be part of the history. Cheers to you all. And that's from Lauren, director of bands at Stony Creek High School. Do you remember that episode?
I do. Lauren is so nice. That was like at the end of season. It's funny because we don't really have seasons. To me, it's just school years. And so we kind of we started it in the middle of the school year in 24. And, she was the end of just this last past summer, but super fun.
Oh, that's awesome. It's really funny. I was on episode 20 and was so fortunate. Whenever I was asked to be on the episode, I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I was out there trudging it in the woods, and I felt my phone vibrate. And I was just, like she said, just honored to be a part of what we are doing here and the positive message about culture that you've been putting out there for 99 episodes now.
Yeah, the weird thing to me is like this whole thing is for the audience out there. This podcast was my idea, but not my idea. Like culture has been my thing, and it started during COVID. I got asked to be on a Con Selmer thing during when COVID, and it was about the culture because somebody, and it was Ben Zolkauer, who's our our director here. We kind of got into this conversation because it's to me how I got through COVID was the culture that saved us, and that's what started it, and it became a topic. And next thing I know, it just kind of took over and became a thing. I got asked to think about this idea about the culture from that, and oh my gosh, here we are.
Yeah, whenever I think way back to my undergrad, back in the Stone Ages, I don't remember culture really being, Dr. Tim was a huge thing, but it wasn't really one of those things that we pushed. We were so much into pedagogy and classroom management. And I think the thing that we left to the wayside is the fact that your culture can be a huge key to your classroom management and not having any management issues.
Yeah, somebody posted on Facebook today. Maybe it was on one of your posts actually about the culture, about culture, and creating. And it was like we were speaking about the post effects of culture rather than the fact that you're not in control of it. You can only guide it, and that's my whole thing. Like I don't think of myself as a perfectionist. I think myself as like, here's what I want, and I'm going to keep pursuing that. And I'm not in control of the culture. I'm along for the ride, just like the kids are. But I do have a little bit of power since I'm the teacher. But that's the whole thing, is just trying to get that classroom to go where I think it should go, and at some point realize I'm the only person with that decision in the classroom.
Right. You have to hope that you have willing followers. And like, I've often thought about it, and you've mentioned this too, that every day we have to come in and kind of take the temperature of the room and see, where things stand. And every day we have to figure out who we need to be to help move the culture in the direction we want it to go in. Do we have to be, the authoritarian? Do we have to be the encourager? Do we have to be, so on and so forth? But it's very vital every day to go in and be ready to kind of feel where the room is, where the students are.
Well, I still go with the quote that I learned when I was a admin. Gail Galligan, if you're listening, it was a conference you sent me to. It was a gifted conference, and the woman said, I don't even remember her name. I should have wrote her name down, but she's like, people remember you for how you make them feel, and that stuck because it really is the truth. And I'm going into my second year at Evergreen, and I already just have a completely different thought process on how I'm going in, mainly because I know the kids, I know what I'm doing, I know the parents. A year ago to this date, I had no idea, but I'm smart enough to, after taking over like 6 band programs, to know just go in and figure it out, but don't try to change course, because the culture you create, it will not be the one you want.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of my mentors always spoke about evolution versus revolution. And I'm going into a completely new school this year after 14 years of my last school. And, right now it's just all about relationships. And we had our open house, and I met a lot of my students, and it was just, what is your name? Not what do you play, but, what is your name? I like your t-shirt. I like this. I like that, and that was a huge part of the culture that, just setting up our culture, a culture of respect and of interest of other human beings. That's one thing, David, I can always say about you, is that whenever we've come into each other's orbit at camp or whatnot, or on here, it feels like in that moment, no matter who's around or what's going on, whoever you're speaking with, they are the most important person to you. And you feel exactly what you said, the way that you are able to make an individual feel.
Well,
it's the difference.
It's something I struggled with when I was a young teacher, because I have a student teacher technically starting tomorrow, but we met last week. I didn't listen a lot when I was young. I talked a lot. I still talk a lot. Those of you who know me, Gordon stopped talking, but I mean, just saying, I had to learn to listen to the kids and actually show interest, and not just show interest, genuinely be interested and take the time to like put some thought process to it, because it's not about being the authoritarian. It's not about knowing more. And again, it's the thing I say this to kids all the time. I can play your music, kids. I'm a professional musician. That's really who in my mind, I see myself as the musician who teaches, who's a human, but the musician in me is who I am. But being a professional musician does not help my students in any way. Just because I can play, or here's my favorite one, just because I can practice doesn't mean that my kids can either play or practice. And I had to learn some of that, and the part of that, which goes back to the listening thing, and just starting the conversations and finding something to negotiate with. That right there, Anastasia.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about your early years. I think a lot of us, if we're really, if we're real with ourselves and we look in that mirror, we have to listen to understand. And not listening just to reply or to answer. I think Jarrett Littman one time said his advice to new teachers was to not have an opinion about anything for the first 5 years. It's just to be in the moment.
Oh, I have opinions on that. I'm just kidding. It was a joke, but it is true. I always call I have names for the first 4 years of a 5-year takeover. So the first year is called Grin and Bear It. And it's true. Because if you try to go in and do the wrong thing, you will totally, or you do the right thing. It might be the right thing, but you could win the battle and lose the war, and create more of a problem for yourself. And the second year, which is why I'm hoping to start tomorrow, is just called Magically Better. It's like that. I don't know. There's just I have no apprehension about going to work tomorrow, because I already know. I know how to open the door. I know where to park. I know where the soda machine is. I don't use the soda machine anymore, just saying. But I know where the copy paper is. I know where the keys are. I know how to fix the copier. I don't know. There's just a calm about it.
Yeah. And then the third year, take us through it. Like, you've got me hooked. I'm here.
Oh yeah, the third year is called Making It Your Own, because it's like to me, it's when you finally get to start making some of those changes. Because what happens is, and this is where I'm at. Like the first year, literally, it's like I'll use my example. I had to write a handbook last year. I guess I didn't have to. I just did. But I didn't know the kids. I didn't know the program. You know, I had Craig and I chatting back and forth to help me get something. But I knew I needed a handbook because they didn't have one. And I know I needed something to refer to in case of like things that I use. And it wasn't necessarily accurate, but it was a start. And so like, and this year I totally redid the handbook. It's written in, it'd be so proud of me. Those who know me, it's written in code. So I can actually refer to the code. So like section 7.3, like section B, I can actually say, well, here's where it says you have to make up this, or here's where it says you need to have reads. Here's where it says, I've just gone through it. But this is the year I get to go through and actually do my handbook. And then next year I get to really make it my own because I'll figure it's then. So making my own. The fourth year is called It's Mine. And the fifth year is Off and Away, because that's like literally when you can go, you can literally do your thing. And like I said, I've taken 4 programs I've stayed 4 years in, and they all followed the same pattern. And only Marcus Deniza, which I only stayed for the 1 year, was my crash and burn because I didn't listen to myself. I tried to be a better musician and know it all, and come to find out I didn't know anything, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing for any new teacher, any first year teacher, is to hear what you just said. You know, we have to go in and grin and bear it. It is what it is. We have all of this knowledge. We're excited. We're ready to go. But yeah, we have to come in and just look at the land and survey the land and think long term. You know, I have an author that I love, John Gordon. He talks about using our telescope instead of our microscope. And being able to look way down the road and see, you know, what it's going to be. It's one of my favorite lines from the Lorax. He has a little seed. He's like, it's not about what it is. It's about what it can be. And I remember that quote getting me through a lot of years in my early career. Now, we have some messages of congratulations. You've done 99 episodes, and we've only had, I think, 2 or 3 repeat guests. I think maybe 2 repeat, Jarrell Horton and Matt Wood. So there are a ton of people out there that we've highlighted the culture and the great things that they are doing. And that
Lincoln Rose on number 2 now.
I told Matt Wood, I said, I'm coming for you. I'm moving up the leaderboard. Like pretty soon I'll be, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5. We'll see how tonight goes.
It's 5 when you get the jacket.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Well, hey, Tom Cox from episode 29 has some words for you.
100th podcast. Couldn't think of a better person to do it. I really enjoyed being on the program and feel honored to have been your first 100 guests. So congratulations, and I hope you have a great day. And if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. Take care, my friend. Hey, David. Tom Cox here from Goshen. Congratulations on your 100th podcast. Couldn't think of a better person to do it. I really enjoyed being on the program and feel honored to have been your first 100 guests. So congratulations, and I hope you have a great day. And if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. Take care, my friend.
That one was so nice. We played it twice.
So sometimes I can't tell if we're repeating or if that's in my head. So I just Tom, oh my gosh. Tom and Tim, you know, both Cox brothers, are both so nice. They come to camp every year, and oh my gosh. What a talented human being, and another just one of the, you know, kind and gentle soul. You know, plain, pure, and simple, and you know, oh my gosh, thanks, Tom.
You know,
nice.
It's one of those Lincoln Rowe things. You can ask anybody that knows me. I was at the Indy Regional last year, and I have a great relationship with Tim. We're in a judging association together. We've known each other through camp for a while, but I just walked up to Tom like out of the blue, and I was like, "Hey, I know your brother." And I think it kind of startled him, but yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They're both outstanding individuals. So glad we got to highlight Tom on the podcast here. Now we do have some questions, and we're going to start with our first one from Daniel Cook. We're going to go with this one, Daniel Cook.
All right. David, this is Daniel Cook from episode 93. Really enjoyed chatting with you and really enjoyed the entire venture of Culture Before Content. Wanted to ask you here as you celebrate 100 episodes, what have been some of the most mic drop, awe-inspiring kind of quotes or ideas that have come up over these 100 episodes over these last couple of years? One of the most tip-top kind of quotes or ideas that you've come across. I'd be really curious about that. Hope you're doing well. Congrats again. Thanks for all your work.
Oh my gosh, Daniel's so nice. Like everyone's so nice. Like that's the thing. I think this podcast to me is just like pure free professional development at every turn.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I don't know if I have quotes because I think the quotes aren't the things that stick with me. It's the ideas. And I actually have 3 that come to mind. Number 1, and actually it's the one I still use to this date. It's Matt Wood, episode 1. Just talking to the kids. And I know it sounds simple and the things that we do, but actually being intentional about talking to the kids and asking them what they did, where they've been, and just starting that conversation and taking time away from music just to get to know your kids better. That was like, I think that's as I watched that first episode, because I got to watch it, it was that was 1. Number 2, I have 3 by the way, and number 2 was Scott Lang. It's like the first 2 episodes, and Scott Lang, I still refer people to that episode because I think that was the first. Again, it was the first one we recorded, but I did not run that show. It's Scott Lang. Scott ran that show from the get-go. And I think when we got there and we got into the conversation about growth versus performance, I think that was just huge, because I think it allowed me and to say what I've been trying to say for years. There's these programs that can be amazing, and I would love to have one. And I have had one, but we got to remember that most programs are just either, if you're a rural program, maybe you have 15 kids in your band program. What success looks like to you is completely different. And that growth mindset is everything. And I encourage everyone to go to that second episode and listen to it, because it really is performance and growth. You can have one, you can have the other, and you can have both. It doesn't make you right, wrong, better, or anything. It just literally is what it is. And that to me was just awe-inspiring, because it also reminded me. And the last one was a recent one, and it was Patrick Maneri. I kind of got selfish on that episode because I knew what we were going to talk about, and it kind of starts tomorrow. And that was, I got a chance because I knew he wanted to talk about leadership, and I just kind of used my band program where I was at and my plans for the time, and it has all come together. And it was just great ideas, and it was a chance to actually reflect for me online, live and in the moment, and just kind of get some things. And it was probably the first one that some of my kids, my students, I call them my kids, it's kind of a habit.
Yeah,
some of my students, think, and I think it was the first time I felt like there was a connection between my program, the podcast, and just personal, like I felt accomplished. And I am so looking forward to getting started tomorrow with the leadership of my program, because it really is like that. It's that's the moment. And I'm going to remember that, because it's going to, spend the whole year getting ready for it.
Yeah. I think the best thing that I heard for a music educator out there right now, getting ready to start their school year, that you just said, is talking about growth as success, and it success is different. Every program, every zip code, there's so many things that we don't know about a person's program, about things that they're dealing with that we might not deal with, that we would never dream of dealing with. But I think whenever we focus on growth, we never end up disappointed. I think if we're really honest with ourselves at the beginning of the year, or at a beginning of a concert cycle, and we celebrate the growth, we're real about where we started, we're even more real about where we ended, I think that we can find happiness and find joy. And I think that our students pick up off of that. I think our students, at the end of the day, because we focus on it, I think they would be way more happy with their growth and celebrating their growth, because that's on an individual level. And they can say, hey, at the beginning of the year, I couldn't play my G flat major scale. And then just, 2-3 years later, they can. We have to focus on growth. And I think that is one of the best things you said. And then the Matt Wood comments, we're teaching young people. We are not teaching young musicians. We kind of are, we kind of aren't. But at the end of the day, whenever they come into our room, like my 6th graders are going to come in on Wednesday, they're young people. And I'm teaching young people who I hope to turn into outstanding young musicians. So that was great to hear. We have one more, another audio message that we want to put out here. Adam Kita from episode 28.
100 episodes. This is amazing. This is Adam Kita from episode 28. And David, I have to say, you have hit a marvelous milestone in this journey of a podcast. I can tell that when guests are speaking with you, it feels as if you have known them all your life. The variety of topics that have been introduced and discussed on your show should truly be in the listening library of every future, current, and retired music educator. It was an absolute pleasure to have been with you and my dear friend Annie Ray on episode 28, where we talk about how an inclusive music classroom can benefit everyone. This podcast and the Facebook group for past guests have allowed us to further connect and dive into the topics that most benefit the students in our classroom today. Thank you, sir, and to the team at Music for All for making this happen. I cannot wait to see what's in store for the next 100 episodes.
David, take us a little bit deeper on that one.
Well, that was actually a special time. Adam came on, and I met Adam because he was listening to the podcast, and he actually sent me an email. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to get you on the show, because it was one of those things that I believe, everyone that comes to your classroom could be neurodivergent, could be, it could be special, could be just so, we don't know who people really truly are. We just know, as I like to say, we just know the mask that we see every day. And probably for, 99 out of 100 students, that's not the person. That's the mask that shows up to your room. And I think that episode was, Adam's hearing impaired, but it was that whole episode where it was a chance to see every kid as somebody special, or like, I don't know. It just kind of reframed the thought process of what every kid is. That kid that drives you nuts may actually be the happiest because they're in your classroom. The kid that might be one of those successful probably may not even be working in your classroom, and that's just who they are. And that's not the point. The point was learning how to get along with anybody who comes in your presence. And you just, again, everyone, teaching is like we teach snowflakes. Everyone is different. And that's what that episode really meant to me. It was just a chance to focus, and I never take anything for granted when I meet a student anymore. And it could be different. Like I said, all you know is the person that presents to you. And that's what that brought to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The term radical empathy comes to mind. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2023 and found out that I was neurodivergent. I had no clue, what that was. All of my friends were like, well, that known me were like, well, yeah, no joke. That's just who you are. But I had a parent probably a year after that diagnosis, because I was very much on Front Street with it with my students, because I knew a lot of them were dealing with that as well. And she said, you're so much more of an empathetic person now. And first, I apologized, and I wanted to go back and apologize to every student I taught before that moment. But just the ability now, like you said, to look at the student and look at the whole student, not just finding their value and playing their instrument in our room, or helping stack chairs or put stands out, but actually seeing that wonderful, unique, wonderful individual that has chosen to spend 55 minutes in your room with you every day. I think the inclusivity and everything that you all touched on in that episode was outstanding.
Well, I will flat out tell you, I look forward to going to work this week. It's because it's like, summer's fun. I really got my video game time in. But, and that's the only thing I'm really going to miss over the summer. But I don't view my work as work. I never have. I go every day happy. I go with very the thought process of what am I going to do today? But it goes back to my band director from high school, Bud Hilditch, and it's make every day better than the day before, and you'll never be disappointed.
Absolutely. There's James Clear in his book Atomic Habits, which if you haven't read, everybody needs to read that. Talks about 1% better, getting 1% better every day, just making in Japanese culture, they would call it kaizen, just slow, determined improvement. We don't have to, it kind of goes back to your 5-year plan. We're not trying to revolutionize things. We just want to make one little thing better every day. And through compound interest, it'll blow up. It will continue to get bigger and bigger and better. All right, let's look back at episode 25 with Ramon Rivera.
Congratulations, 100 episodes. Congratulations, David and the whole Music for All team Culture Before Content is a great podcast for everyone in the nation to learn about what education is all about, what the top educators in the country are doing and sharing ideas. And I love the advocacy. My name is Ramon Rivera, and I really enjoyed being part of your show and talking about what I could do as educator, but also I love listening every Sunday about how other educators are doing. Viva la música, and I will always listen to your podcast.
Ramon is so nice. By the way, I want to say, if you've ever never, I love my English. If I ever had the opportunity, he teaches at Mount Vernon in Washington. It is just so beautiful. It's north of Seattle, and there's so many different parts of the country I want to get to. And my gosh, he just teaches, and he is, again, if you're into mariachi, that man is all knowledge. And like the minute anybody brings up they're going to start a mariachi program, I'm like, talk to Ramon. And just, oh my gosh, amazing. He is so passionate about what he does, and you can do nothing but pick up on it.
Wow. That's amazing. 100 episodes. Here we are. That was from episode 25. Probably feels like a lifetime ago. September 1st, 2024. I know. It's just amazing. And thinking about the fact that, this is an every week thing throughout whenever we do the seasons of this, and you're always kind of turning and burning. And like you said, I totally agree. These are mini professional developments. I would say, if, there are 100 episodes now, if you're in your car and you're on a drive, pop it on. If you are out there right now and you listen to it in your car, drop it in the chat. Let us know where you listen to the Culture Before Content podcast. Let us know what point in your day that you listen to it. And then also let us know anything that you've taken from it. Maybe something that you heard while you were on the drive to school and you implemented that day and it paid off. It paid dividends. It was great. Now we have another question, and I think this is really important for us to look at. It comes from Dr. Heidi Welch from episode 68. Now, here at the very beginning of our school year, we're all fired up. We're ready to go. We're going to charge that windmill, and we are going to have a blast. But I think there always comes a point during the year where maybe something doesn't go the way we want it to, maybe personal life things, maybe this, maybe that, and we have to slow down. So we're going to have Heidi ask a very good question here about that.
Hey, David. Congratulations on 100 episodes. This is Heidi Welch from New Hampshire, and I'm thrilled to have been a part of the Culture Before Content First 100. My question for you is, what do you do to center yourself, to get back to the David that you are when all of what we normally do can kind of co-opt our brains? How do you center yourself? Congratulations again. Great work.
That's a great question. And here's the thing that again, when I was a young band director, not so much. Who I am today, totally different. How do I center myself? I don't define myself by my career. That took a while. And I think the biggest thing for me is I do the best to take care of myself when I'm not a band director, and I work not to be a band director when I'm not at work. And there are times you have to spend, it's like homework, right? You got to do your homework, but I am not investing every minute. Every conversation is not about music. It's the same things that all of us, I work out all the time. I eat when I love food. I wish I could eat more, but I'm just saying, but I have found to get away from music. I play my video games when I want to. And that's my whole thing. Yeah. Gordon, he multitasks. That's pretty true. But I think the big thing for me was just realizing that band director is not who I am. It's just a part of who I am. And so that's really what I do to center myself and remind myself that, I can barely tie my shoes. So there's that, I'll keep working on that to do that better, but that's band directing isn't define me. It's my hobby. It's what I love to do. It's just, it's since like 1990, what I've kind of been just taking up some time with.
Yeah. I think that you and I both are, I guess the appropriate term would be seasoned. I guess we're veterans of this. The Gen Xers would call us old. We're boomer band directors. But man, if you're a young band director out there, and we keep referencing things from when we were young, it is not a point of judgment. It is a kind of an admittance, and it feels soothing for us to acknowledge these things that we were doing 10, 15, 20 years ago that really weren't the most beneficial to us. And then by proxy, they weren't beneficial to our students. I think, David, you said early in your career, and this was the way with mine, that I was a band director. That's what I was. That was my only identity. And throughout the years, I've really, really, really worked to become a husband that teaches band, or to become a cat dad that teaches band, or to become a man that teaches band. Because at the end of the day, hopefully if everything goes to plan, we're going to be able to step out of these roles and let somebody come in and build and stand on our shoulders and build off of what we've done. And I would hate to think that just because I'm not a band director anymore, that's it. My life is over. But I do think that we have to have that balance. And I say that from a man that has not always had that balance. My bands were doing well, but I wasn't. And, now that I've kind of, like you've said, and I loved hearing you say it, you work out, you play your video games, you have these other things that you do. I think you would agree, right? That we are not necessarily better or worse band directors, but we're better people for the people that we teach.
I think it goes back to when I walk in the classroom, I'm 100% all business. My mind does think, my mind's constantly on the band room, of course, picking music. That's been my big thing, going through things, talking with people, doing all those things. I still have that part of me that loves to be a band nerd.
Absolutely.
But I also love the part of me that doesn't want to be a band nerd, that wants to be a human, and I crave all that. And I think it just goes back to the fact that just want to be happy all the time. And I got to remember that.
There it is. Wow. We need to clip that. That needs to be Instagram, or I need that on my phone every morning whenever I wake up instead of my alarm tone. Because David Duarte is saying, I want to be happy all the time. That's so good. All right, let's go back. Let's throw it back to episode 56 with Cynthia Plank.
Well, hello, David. Cynthia Plank here from Beaumont Middle School. Congratulations on your 100th episode. It's a really big deal. The title of your podcast, I think, really zeroes in on what needs to happen when we are trying to lead a group of people to success while still loving what we're doing. I've really enjoyed listening to the smart, compassionate, and talented people that you've had on your podcast, and I look forward to more episodes in the future. Good job, sir. Keep up the good work.
Okay, for Cynthia, I'm going to say this. There is no more talented person than Cynthia. I have had the pleasure to judge her bands and to watch her work with her kids. And I will tell you, for those listening out there, you all need to contact her and ask how she gets her band to sight read, because it is a clinic in and of itself. That's how I met. I was doing sight reading room at a jazz festival, and her band came in. And by the way, at that point, I remember it was right after COVID. They had not come back. They were late to the game, and they only been in school. Or it was the strike. That's what it was for her. It was the strike. And they had not been in school for more than a few days when they came to a festival, and still just again, her culture is incredible. And that's what I want. The culture before content really for me means I want to see what your culture is, because I either want to steal it, modify it, or do what I can so I can have it in my arsenal of things to do.
Yeah, Jarrell Horton, who is a guest, and we're going to get to Jarrell here in a moment. Maybe we get a video of him singing. I don't know. But Jarrell mentioned a book to me this summer while we were at camp called Steal Like an Artist. And really, you're exactly right. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything has already been done. But what makes it special is not that this person did it, that person did it, but it's that twist that only David Duarte can put on something. We all stack chairs every day. We stack chairs and we stack them and we stack them. But there's only something special and wonderful about it that we can take and do whenever David Duarte does it. Do you know what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with it, is your spice, your twist that we all can put on it and make it our own.
So true, because I think that's, one of the things that I believe in is like, I was not a clean band director. I still not in technical terms. Craig, you can validate out there, but I have become to the point where I want my kids to be organized. If there's 100 of us in the room and 50 of us are going to want to be organized, it could be a different 50 people every day, but that room's going to have this constant environment. And that took me a while to figure out. And now it's like, okay, the chairs have a place. Let's make sure they're there. The stands have a place. Let's make sure they go there. And when we're done with the concert, everything's back. We're not leaving early. Everything's, everything when we're done is always where it goes. And that took a while because it's easier to say, oh, we'll just get it on Monday or we'll just get it later tomorrow than it is to actually do it. But having a system, having something in place creates that culture. And if you can get, again, it's not what I can do. It's what my students can do. It's what my community can do. And that to me is what it's about. Oh, Nola Jones, there you are.
There she is. Well, bless y'all's hearts. I love Nola. Oh, good to see you, Nola. Thank you for stopping by.
I love her more than my luggage, and she knows that.
And you said the thing about systems and things, that I think that is the moment where we know that our culture is getting in place whenever the students are holding each other accountable. And it's just kind of there.
That is again, this is not that first year to second year thing, because in my brain, the culture that you've left, when you change jobs, the culture that you left, you can't just go have it when you take over, and you can't demand it. Because it's just that whole thing. But, the Evergreen students taught me of all their systems that were already in place. And man, there was a ton of greatness going on, and it's still going on. And I've been able to take it, make it, and buy it, sell it, package it, and share with others. But that whole thing is making sure that when something's in place that we recognize it and we refer to it. And I am a systems process. I mean, I believe that's where it at. I have a system and a process for everything. Craig can validate.
So we have another little audio message here from Giovanni Santos from episode 88. Let's hear what Giovanni has to share.
Hello, friends. Giovanni Santos here. Just wanted to send a quick note of congrats on your 100th show. A big thanks for your service to music education. Cheers.
Oh my gosh. Everyone needs, this is my thing. There's another person we had, Kenley Christofferson. And a lot of times my exposure to music and composers comes from, meeting them. And so Giovanni is a composer, an educator, a professor, and so many good things. And I encourage everyone to go to that episode and go listen to his music, or find Giovanni Santos and listen to his music, because he's one of those people that I want to invest in. And I want to bring some of those things, there's so much on that episode, and he is such a talented person. And we met doing the show. And he's been so nice. And again, I really think it comes back to this. Is it really more about relationships than anything else? And, that's just a question out there with no answer, but it really is and that's why his music speaks to me. And I think that's one of those things, it goes back to Kenley Christofferson, is that I'm programming him on my first concert, and I just texted him at random the other day, and then we have a little conversation going about the piece. But it's because I look at people as people, and when you engage with them, you get so much more out of them. I learn, and I value that learning.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that our younger band directors, all band directors need to hear it. We are just people. All of those, the composers that we look up to. I remember one time at Midwest chasing Frank Battisti through the convention center to get his autograph, but that was in another life. But I mean that we're all just people, and we have technology now. We have ways to reach out and to approach them. And one of my favorite things that I read recently is that competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. And I think that that's the mindset that, if we can continually work to collaborate. I mean, we have 99 examples of high level collaboration through this podcast. And it doesn't just stop with the podcast. I know that we're putting out email addresses and contact information and things like that. I think I would encourage, and I've done this on multiple occasions, if you listen to, for example, Jarrett Littman's episode where he talked about Title I programs and all the amazing things happening in the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, I teach at a Title I school, so I mean, I was just burning up the email, reaching out to those guys and saying, hey, how are you doing what you're doing? What can I take from you and try and apply here? I think that is so powerful.
In my opinion, everyone has more knowledge than I do. It's just that we all have a different person for different knowledge, and we just got to borrow that knowledge from somebody. Like, I could be the best at something, but I can't be the best at everything. And I think that's really what it comes down to is, it's a collaborative, it's a network. Yes. I feel lucky for the people that I know, and getting older has made it super easy to meet people because I've had time.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one thing that we talked a lot about this summer with the Director Academy Assistants team at camp was, knowing when, as a leader, because I mean, we're all coming in, we're all leaders in our own worlds, but knowing at certain points when to pull back and to let others lead and to let others do what they're the best at. I'm on a team now with around 13 people at any rehearsal with the new program that I'm with. And that is, my goodness, there are moments that I have to recognize that this person is way more suited to teach this task, to teach this fundamental than I am. I think that's a powerful thing for every director to hear.
I do too. There's some so good comments. And by the way, I just want to point out, Craig validated my systems process out there. And see, and there's Nola. We all wish our personal investments would pay off like systems processes do. And and hi, Lincoln. And I'm going to keep reading. Hi, Lincoln and David. What a great deal. Wait, Stephanie's great. Again, another great person from camp and been on the pod. Also a twicer, technically. She got on the summer podcast and the podcast. Best of luck, Lincoln, with the new job. Great conversations. And there's Brian's. I appreciate Culture Before. Oh my God, they're going so fast.
Whoa.
Brian Blocker. I get all these people. It's funny because they've been on the show and I've met them at camp. And if it wasn't for the Director Academy, I wouldn't have got to meet these people live. And it's just been, it's really weird being out here on the West. I feel like I've had to integrate with the Midwest. I've lived in the South, I've lived in the Southwest, and I've gotten my chance to integrate here.
Yeah. So can you tell us really quick, you've talked a lot about your processes and your systems. Can you give us a power minute and a half of one of your systems that you feel is super beneficial to you and your students?
That's the whole thing, man. I have the systems that I have are crazy. Like, for example, I'm going to go with the one that I know that's going to come up later, which is student teachers. I have a systems process for student teachers, and it really is about how to meet them, what to do with them, how to integrate with them, the things that you do, how to let go. I mean, there's a system for everything. There's a system for me how to set up my stereo system in my room. There's a system how, again, we talked about chairs and stands. There's a system for chairs and stands. There's just I believe in the systems that I need to do. I believe in a system for email. Read the email. Write the email in your head that you want to respond, and then go back and actually write the email. But I think it's so hard to dictate a system. I do have them, but most of them are informal process. But my system for me would be warm-ups. Warm-ups are a system. And it's every day. It's going to start off with, for example, this is an easier version. It's not the warm-up itself, but every day the warm-up starts at 3 minutes after the hour. It could be it could be my student teacher. It could be my students, but they start. And then at that time, I need to do attendance. And then after attendance, I need to check for who is missing. And then again, you just got to have a system in place. And you could use reminders. You can use a piece of paper. You could use your head. But having those systems in place allow you to capture some of those moments that you would otherwise forget.
Yeah. And I love hearing you talk about how you're empowering others through your leadership, through your systems. It's not I have to do this or the world will collapse. It is empowering others to, number one, you're empowering them. Number two, you're sharing the burden, not really the burden, but you're sharing the load. They're helping you. And whenever we let people invest in things with their effort, that's next level. I love that.
Well, if those of you out there haven't private taught, like this is what happened to me is I kind of became a private teacher for a while, not because I wanted to teach privately, but because when I went to admin, I had no outlet for I never stopped being a band director. I just kind of got put into a place where I lost my ability to be a band director, but I still needed my connection. And the thing that private lessons taught me is that I am not in control of how good these students are. It is not me that makes them better. And when I became a band director again, so to speak, that belief followed me. I don't make the band good. The students make the band good. I don't make the band clean. The students make the band room clean. I am not in charge of this bus. I am only in charge of myself, and I am the only person I can control. Everything else is a negotiation.
Wow. Well, hey, you kind of touched on this, and we're going to look back at episode 22 and 79. We had a two-time guest, Dr. Jarrell Horton, the man, the myth, the legend. I say that a lot. I love it. I think it's very appropriate. If you all have not seen David and Jarrell in a room together, it's amazing. You should come to camp this summer at Ball State, the Harvard of Muncie, as they call it, Ball State University, and come to the Sweetwater Directors Academy at the Music for All summer camp. Hey, let's hear that.
Hi, David. This is Jarrell. It's your best buddy. Listen, being on the podcast with you was amazing. And then meeting you in person made it even better. And now we have become really good friends. So I want to thank you for all the good work you are doing for music educators in this country. So my question to you is talk a little bit about how important you think the professional semester is, the student teaching semester, and the things that you're doing right now to create a better opportunity for people during their professional semester.
Whew. He knew, because I have a student teacher, Corey, if you're out there. But my whole master's thesis is on the student teaching experience. And here's my thing. I think too many people, I'm sorry, I'm kind of opinionated, so I apologize to my audience out there. But I think too many people, again, this goes with being a band director. I'm not in control. Same with the student teachers. And there's one thing that student teachers don't get to do a lot of sometimes when they teach or when they do their student teaching, and that is teach. And you have to give of yourself. Well, my goal is I'm trying to write my book on this. I'm trying to turn my thesis into an actual readable book instead of a thesis, because those are boring. But I have a process of how student teaching goes. And how important is it? It's super important. And here's what most people won't do that they need to do when they're a mentor. You need to let go and let the student teacher do their job. You're there to guide. You're not there to tell them what they do. They're not a secretary. They're not there to be to do things. Matter of fact, they are your peer, and you need to treat them as such, but you need to guide them with their questions and use reflective practice. But it is so important for that student teaching semester to get the student teacher to reflect and get them to focus on one thing: teach. And also, this is like sidebar. Don't let them talk too much, because they're going to try to talk too much. They're going to try to tell the kids what they know, but they don't need to do it. The check for understanding is when they play or when they or what they say. It's not them saying it. It's not them playing it. It's literally that process of the answers in the music, the answers in the answer, but it's not the answer or the music.
Yeah.
So how important is student teaching? You got to let them teach, and you got to give them that opportunity, and you've got to let go.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've had only 2 student teachers, but I mean, I just felt a tremendous amount of, I was just honored, I mean, I remember who I student taught with. Shout out Beth Stribling at Murray Middle School. And I'm telling you, I walked in. Hi, Beth, I'm Lincoln. Hi, Lincoln, I'm Beth. Get on the podium, kid. Let's do it. I mean, it was, I was thrown into the water, but it is, making sure that we understand that the most valuable feedback, our students need to know that the most valuable feedback that we are going to give them is going to come immediately after the rep. And we need to be very quick with our words, because hey, Linda Pulley, whose group No Middle School just played at the National Concert Band Festival this past spring, just absolutely. And I had Linda in to do an all district band. And I am telling you, those students, hey, check this out, David. I had Linda Pulley, John Miller, who's been on the show, Joel Denton, and then, a relatively unknown to us band director named Jarrell Horton.
Go
And
figure.
oh man, she was amazing. But getting back to the point I was making, we have to make sure that right after the rep, we are prepared. Just like we want our students to be prepared to get that information, we need to be prepared to give it to them in a concise way, because they're already in their heads going over what they did wrong. They're already self-assessing. They're already trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And if we just keep on pontificating and throwing stuff into their brains, we're just going to spin our wheels, so to speak.
You can only teach the kids if they want to care or they're interested. We're salesmen more than we are teachers, and we're guides.
100%. I think, David, you touched on a great tip there for any young band director that's going to be doing their first recruiting. That they're not choosing an instrument, they're not choosing band, they're choosing you, because they're going to spend 55 minutes a day. This is one of the only classes in middle school they get to choose to take, and they're choosing to spend that time with you.
That is true. That picture, by the way, I want to talk about
Yeah.
that picture on the left. That is my private studio. Those are my Mountain Ridge kids. Those 4 kids submitted a recording for Midwest and were accepted as the quartet, and they never got to play, because guess what semester they submitted for?
Oh no.
They did it all on their, and that's like your first, second, third, and fourth chair all-state kids sitting right there. But those kids, they're the ones that kind of led me to when I was going to go back to teaching, that if you just guide them and do it and get out of their way, they'll probably do it better than you telling them what to do.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and for the most part, that's the kind of student that we have, that our programs attract, are the ones that,
on the right there on that picture, that's Scott Lang for a lot of you there, but that Scott came in, that's actually a part of his leader of the band book, but that's when my band played at Midwest. And that's that whole thing of like, I never expected any of that to happen. And that's a Title I school, by the way. But the whole process right there is just inspiring kids to be better, even when they're amazing.
Yeah. I have a heart for Title I schools, and I'm going to encourage everybody again to go back and,
Love it.
Patrick, if you can give me that episode number from Jarrett, I'd love to pub that as much as possible. And people just need to see Jarrett's good looking face. I mean, he's a great human being, such a wonderful person. I know. And just another one of those people, right? Like we talked about earlier, that just makes you feel like you're the center of their universe whenever you're in front of them. And talked about the Title I schools, Brownsville, all over in the Rio Grande Valley. That is, you've got to, if you're going to, like, your next steps, right, from this, you need to go back and listen to Jarrett's episode. It was so good. All right. Now, speaking of episodes, let's throw it all the way back to episode 26, Dr. John Gallagher.
Hi, David. This is Dr. John Gallagher in New York. I'm sending you congratulations on your 100th episode of Culture Before Content. I was honored to be a guest on your podcast discussing public relations and advocacy techniques for school music programs. It was an honor to be with you, and I wish you well. Here's to another 100 episodes.
Oh my gosh. That's, I always get inspired by the people that have the doctor before in their title. Because to me, that's the ultimate thing of how much studying have they done, how much research have they done, and then how much, they've just got an amazing, I want the knowledge set that these people have. And that is another great episode to go just to like speak about what a program can do, what a program does. But my gosh, like the amount of the people that have been on this podcast are just, again, I'm just the host, but I get total amazing professional development. And just to add to your thing, it was episode 67 with Jarrett Lippman.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, 6-7. All right, there we go. God. I'm a middle school band director now. I can fully buy into that.
Do not start.
All right. Well, and that's the thing, I keep coming back to the thought of professional development. I mean, I think that, I've talked to a lot of people about the Director Academy that we attend every summer, and it, to me, it's not a professional development. It is a development. I think it's something you have to be intentional about wanting to go to and spend a week in Muncie, Indiana, but that's also the thing with this is that, be intentional about listening to the episodes and re-listen to. I've listened to so many multiple times because every time it just seems like there's a little nugget. Maybe I was driving or I was just, thinking about my week and I didn't hear that sentence, but then boom, I listened to it again and I gained that knowledge.
Well, shout out to Patrick Keller, our producer, because if you have never listened to the audio episodes, they sound so like I don't even think it sounds like myself in the car because they sound so good. He does such a good job, and it just what he does with the audio. And so when you get to listen to it in the car, I get mad because I used to have like a 20-minute drive to work, and now it's down to like 10, 15 minutes. I get a lot less of my time to listen back and forth. That's when I used to do most of my work back in the day was in the car and listening.
Right.
So now I just have to listen. I have to drive more, I guess.
Yeah, I have an hour drive now. I've kind of broken it up with staying with some friends in the town that I'm teaching in. But yeah, during that hour, it's just great to get in the zone.
I love it.
And to prepare myself for my students. And part of that has been listening to Culture Before Content.
It's not a drive. It's an opportunity.
Oh, bumper sticker material right there. I need a shirt with that. Okay. So we have, and one of the great things about the Culture Before Content podcast series is that it's just full of tips and tricks for band directors of all ages. Okay. Whether you've been, doing it for 50 years, 40, or if it's your first day and you're starting with students on Wednesday and, you're full of excitement and nerves and all that. But Andy Meserly has, I'm backing up. Frank Zimmermer has a great shout out and tip for all music educators for the upcoming year.
Hey, everyone. Hello, David, my good friend. Just wanted to shout out all of the music educators and band directors, especially who have gone back to school already. I know here in the great state of Tennessee, we are already back into week 1 of school. Band camp over. Half the show on the field, ready to rock and roll here. But for all those who are starting the next few weeks, remember to have patience, remember to have a smile on your face, and remember to do something extra for your students so that they will remember that as they enter their first week of classes. So many people don't understand how important those couple of weeks or days before school is for our marching band friends, that those new freshmen, those new faces get to experience your band room, your classroom, your culture, you as a teacher, and even the school as a whole before many students step into that building for either the first time or the first time that year. So take advantage of taking your students through your culture, through your school, through some of the traditions that you will do. Maybe perform for a back to school bash or for your teacher's first day, but give your students an opportunity to build culture heading into the beginning of the school year. Good luck to everyone. Thanks.
Frank Zimmerer, he's so amazing. Like, I don't know a lot of people. If you watch his episode, he teaches in Antioch, in Tennessee. And he was one of the very first people. Matter of fact, he probably was one of the first people that I met when I got to Tennessee. Open, welcoming, and just fantastic. But when you move out of when you move out of state and you go somewhere new, and especially if you go to a different region of the country, sometimes it is so hard to make connections. And he was by far the first connection I made that just makes a difference. And he does it every day. I encourage everyone to talk to him about making your kids feel, because holy cow, does he do it.
Yeah, I think that, he's spot on. Like we have such a unique opportunity, especially with a freshman coming into a new school, a building change, where we get to have them there for 2 to 3 weeks. And we get to introduce them to the building, introduce them to the culture, introduce them to the traditions. Maybe, it might not be part of your day, but take them to their locker, show them how to work their locker. Maybe set up with seniors and juniors and other upperclassmen and have them get a private tour of the school. Maybe have that young student get their schedule and you have a senior, junior, or somebody walk them around the school and show them, well, you're going from this room to this room. You might think it's best to go this way, but if you cut through here, you're going to shave off about 30 seconds.
It reminds me that one of the pictures that keeps coming up is my picture when I was in the All-American College Band at Disney, which by far is probably the best band I've ever played in my entire life. Dr. Ronald McCurdy was my director. But one of the trainings, it's right there. One of the training things that we got at Disney, and it still sticks because a lot of my teaching comes from that Disney band, is it may be the 1,000th time that you've been asked where the bathroom is. But for the person who's asking that question, it's the first time.
Wow.
And it's probably the most important thing to them. And that has stuck in my head. Of all the things, the talking about the bathroom was probably one of the most incredible teaching tips I ever got. But there's Disney, no one does it better than Disney on terms of what's important, how to make everyone feel. And then just the organizational processes. I still have my book somewhere. I think it's in the closet back there of, it's called Working Our Way. But it just has everything down to how to wear your hair, what you do, how to greet people, anything and everything. But that lesson about, you talk about taking the freshmen out. Yeah, they don't know what's going on. We all forget. It might be their first time at the school. It might be the first time going to a class. Yeah, Dr. McCurdy. Woo. Everything's the first for them. And you got to remember that. And you're right. It's empathy from the word go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is. Yeah, I'm so excited to meet my sixth graders, and this will be probably the 18th group of beginners that I've started, but it's their first time, and I need to match their excitement. One of the great things I saw this summer was there were some band directors that do like a new gear day, or they call it band Christmas, whenever all the instruments come in, and that's something that typically like our brains are like, okay, management doing it. Got to make sure they all put the case the right way and do this and do that.
Latches down.
Yeah.
Down.
Absolutely. Yamaha logo
down.
up. Yamaha logo up. Yeah. But that is such a special day for them because they've thought about that probably since April, whenever you came out and you did your recruiting visit, and they've been looking forward to it. And yeah, exactly. It is their first time. And then the Disney stuff, man, the Disney point, right? Am I doing it right? Like, where's the bathroom? That way.
And you can just point, by the way, because no matter which way you point, there's going to be a bathroom that way somewhere. And it's just kind of funny that and after you work at the park for a while, you do know where the bathrooms are. But it is true. It's just like it's back on you. Just treat people with how they want to be treated. Answer the question and present it's the first time. It's kind of like 11 weeks of playing that same show that we played. Yeah, that's the first time those people have probably heard your band play that piece of music, and that kind of transfers over to my high school band. This might be the 100th time we played something, but might be the first time someone's ever heard it. So make it sound like the recording.
That is one thing that I would encourage all of our band directors to think about. And I've talked to my students a ton. It might be state marching band championships. It might be Saturday morning at Grand Nationals, or it may be a pep band gig in your high school, and it's the third game you've done that week, and blah blah blah. But this may be the only chance that somebody gets to hear and see your band, and we need to make sure that whenever they go away, that they are just blown away by what you've done. So we have to value, really, in a sense, the user experience of what we do.
Absolutely.
All right, now we've talked a lot, and we've talked about how we were, both of us, whenever we started our careers, and then what we've kind of evolved and grown into. But we have a question from Andy Meserly, and he was a guest on episode 77, way back on November 23rd, 2025.
Hi, this is Andy Meserly from Grain Valley High School. I just wanted to say congratulations to David and the entire Culture Before Content team on really providing a great resource for educators all around the country and the world. My question for David is, when did you start making the shift, realizing how important culture was to your classroom? Was there a single aha moment, or has this always been ingrained into your teaching? Looking forward to the answer.
That's a good question, because I have two shifts that I have in my career. And so I'm going to start with the musical shift, because that's the one that created probably the shift of when I found my culture. Because it takes a moment to find yourself when you're older, because like at some point you realize that it's not that it's always been, but the patterns have always been there. But my musical shift always goes back to Hart High School in California. I went to this marching band festival, heard this 88-piece band make the most incredible crescendo I've ever heard my entire life, balanced from top to bottom, outdoors. It rang for my brain, it rang for 10 minutes. But it was the first time in my career that I said, oh my God, I'm not teaching music right. How do you, it was the first time I ever questioned, how do you get kids to do that? And that kind of opened my mind on how I need to teach. And so what happened was, it was 2005. It was November. I remember it. in that time, I figured out what that meant to me. And by April, my band had been accepted to play at Midwest. And none of those things would have happened if it wouldn't have happened, if that moment didn't happen. Well, then when the Midwest thing happened, and then the WIBIC thing happened, and then the Next Generation Monterey Jazz Festival thing happened, then I had to realize, why am I successful? Because it popped the question in my head of, why am I successful? And then it goes back to, I wasn't successful. My students were. I just got to live it with them.
Wow.
And my culture has always been there. But now I'm way more intentional about culture. And like I said, I'd love to do another episode with Craig, because Craig now has known me for a year, and we talked about exactly what I was going to walk into at Evergreen. And just that intentionalness about knowing what to do, what to expect, and that it's not that the answer is going to be what it is. It's just experience. There's no substitute for experience and understanding what that experience does. So the culture for me it's the whole thing about listening more, talking less. Once I figured that out, how you make students feel, all those things were putting the students at the forefront. Took a while, but the culture thing happened over time. And I honestly have to say, it's probably when I became an admin, and I started observing classrooms. I never realized the biggest problem in classrooms today is classroom management and not the band. Mm-hmm. And if people put their focus on classroom management, half of the problems would go away right there. You've got to accept that either you can control them or you can't. And if you can't, all you need is help. No one's trying to make a judgment call. You've got to be open with yourself to fail. And that's where so what I had to learn is that in my failure, I will find success.
Man, I've heard a great acronym for FAIL is that it's actually first attempts in learning. And I think whenever you take that to heart and you referenced earlier Growth Mindset, Dr. Carol Dweck at Stanford. I think that's a great book for everybody to read. She has a second edition of it out, and it's just wonderful. But yeah, it in the book, it talks about our failures don't define us, but our effort does. So I think it's definitely being able to take an inventory of what worked and what didn't. And then, hey, how can I make what didn't work? I thought it was going to be great. I thought this was going to be the best lesson ever. I thought we were going to learn about this. We were going to play The Red Balloon by Ann McGinty, and we were just going to kill it, but we didn't. Well, okay. Where did it go? What steps before the actual music, where maybe there were some lacks in knowledge, maybe there were some gaps in understanding about some skills that we needed to transfer from our warm-up into the piece that we didn't quite have ready.
I would say to every band director, stop being so literal and assess every second and change. Yeah. Because if you, it's like, I'm going to give you one of my comments, and Frank Zimmer, if you're listening, this is my favorite one. Because, are you ready? Because if one person ever in my world says, did you read the email? I'm going to lose my stuff. Because I flat out now, I even said it last year when I got to Evergreen. I had zero opportunity to sit down, but no, I did not read the email. And I just start out my conversation like, I didn't read your email. And why don't you just tell me it's and save us some time, because I didn't read it. And I don't have time to read it. And by the time we talk about it, we've already fixed it, but I didn't read the email. And that was probably one of those moments. It's not because I don't like email. It's because the way my life works and how busy I am. At the point, like last year, I taught at 4 schools. And when did I get to sit down and go to my computer and read the email? Usually after it was there. Oh my God, Patrick, you're so funny. But yeah, I'll get to my email eventually. But the email is not information and communication are two different things. And once you learn to communicate, information will have its way.
Well, David, this has been absolutely amazing. And I have we have one more question left, but before we get to that, I think I would like to say, and I'm going to speak for every other guest, your whole vibe, as the youth of America would say right now, is just so encouraging. And I think it encourages us to be the best version of ourselves and to try and find a little bit of David Duarte and inject that into our lives and into our students. And what do we got here? We will all fail many times, no matter how many years you have or have not been teaching. Our ability to learn from it. Yep, there we go. I mean, that's a great lesson that our students can learn too. Like if, more students, there are more students that will not make the all district or all state band in your program than will. It's just simple math.
I've got an even better one for you.
Go ahead.
Kids are going to make the all state or all region band despite your talents.
Ooh, that is
success
so
is the kid. Success is
Absolutely.
the student, not yourself. Don't define yourself by how many kids made all state. Define yourself. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
No, yeah, but we always talk to our students a lot. That bus ride home from auditions can always be kind of a tough one for some students. But I always tell our students, you're a way better musician. Your growth than you were whenever you started this journey. Now you don't have a folder and you're not looking through all your new music, but you need to take a moment and focus on the fact that you are so much better at what you do. And if we talk like Fran Kick, we talk about good, fun work. They've done the work, they've gotten better, they're having fun. It's such a great thing. Well, here is our final question that we have for the evening. It comes from David Adelit, episode 39, and I think it's a perfect way for us to wrap up the centennial episode of Culture Before Content.
Hey, David. This is David Adelit here. Congratulations on the first 100 episodes of Culture Before Content. My question is, what's next? What do you have in store for the next 100?
Well, that's funny, and that's probably the easiest question of them all because it's the same as the first 100. David, is I don't control my podcast any more than I control my band program, other than I just guide it. So, for those of you who don't know how the podcast works, sometimes I get to bring on a guest, which I kind of made a plan this time. Like I'm like ahead of the plan this time about finding guests. And a lot of times Music for All will provide the guest. That's how we met, Lincoln.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
were a provided guest. You're going to love this guy. It's like, well, I have to. It's kind of in the contract. But the thing is, what's in store for the next 100 is my belief that I am focusing more on trying to get more of the culture of the person who I'm visiting to come out faster. That's what's in store. I really feel like this Culture Before Content, when I started it, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I talked way too much at the beginning. I was like my own band director self. I talked too much at the beginning. Kind of like this episode, probably talked too much, but hey, it's my one.
You're the guest.
Yeah, I know it's the one I get to talk. But really, I think what's in store for the next 100 is 100 more people who are going to tell us why their culture is amazing, and I get to steal every little bit of it, and hopefully some more repeat guests because I love the repeat guests. Like how different do we know each other now than from the time we started the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. I remember the first time I met you live and in person. It was just. There's only so much that we can get from our guests through the screen. And another, I know Nola's out here in the water with us right now, probably watching. I have to plug the camp again, the Directors Academy. So many of the faculty and so many attendees have been there, and it's just a full immersive experience of Culture Before Content whenever you come to camp.
Well, I've known Nola Jones, for a long time. And so, everyone that's been on the podcast is super inspirational. And like I said, I think the podcast rejuvenates me every Sunday. I think it's been part of why I've been so happy going into work for the last couple of years, is because I get to do this on Sundays. I get to go have dinner after. I'm sure we'll talk about what we're having for dinner after the show. And then I get to see a lot of people. And by the way, I saw my student teacher did come to the podcast. Awesome. I see his thing on there, but, teaching is an opportunity. It's not who we are. Culture is who you are and just wanting to share it. And, if you want a certain type of band, then start today. And again, you said it, make it 1% that tomorrow and just keep going. If it keeps getting better, it's going to be, there's my student teacher. Yeah. You have to head out, whatever. We're going to see each other for we have 13-hour days. We have 4 13-hour days in a row starting tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
I know. You get that whole summer to play, Assassin's Creed, and now I gotta go listen to people talk for 13. Sherelle Horton's working tomorrow. Gotcha. David Kuhn's also working tomorrow for me. Again, a lot of people on this podcast are now people that I can use, because if you reach out to them, you'll be shocked what you find.
No, that's the thing. Absolutely 100%. I mean, it is, we're not trying to hide this candle that we've lit, You know, we are trying to get this message out there because we all firsthand know the transformative effect that this can have, not on your band program, but on the young people that you are teaching. And then that, you know, that will come out in the pudding later, but it is amazing. So David, normally at this point in the show, we have some final thoughts. Oh, well, thank you. Patrick, a man after my own heart. Well, I had a blast. I was kind of, I'd heard rumors that I was hosting, and then it was confirmed about 15 minutes before we started, and we're just doing it live. So here we go. But David, normally at this point in the podcast, we have final thoughts. And I think you kind of touched on some of those, but hey, this is the 100th episode. People are going to watch this one. This is, you know, one of the big ones. So what would you like the last thing for your listener to hear you say in this opportunity that you have to be a guest?
Well, culture before content has always been an idea, and the culture you want and the culture you have may be different. Aspire to find out what it is and figure out how to get there. Backwards design, make it happen. If you want your chairs put away, then imagine what it takes to get there and keep trying until you do. Teaching is making spaghetti. You just got to throw it at the wall, and if it sticks, keep doing it. If it falls down, don't let people know that you picked it up off the floor and ate it anyway. But do it anyway. We're all human. Be human. Find a mentor. Love life.
There we go.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining us today on your podcast. And and if you want to give any questions, if you have any questions for me or anything like that, if you'd reach out to me, lincoln.rowe@christian.kyschools.us. And we have David's email as well. And I can tell you right now, don't ask him if he's read it, but please reach out to him and he will get to them. And I can promise you, I'm not just throwing the company line here. David will get to you. He will hear your question and he will make you feel seen and help you with whatever he can. And that's one of the great things that makes our guest today, but our host next week, and for the next 100 episodes, David Duarte, one of the most amazing human beings you're going to meet. So thank you, David, for joining us today.
Kind. And thank you so much. Oh, wait, there's my website.
Oh, there it is. Yes, davidduarte.org.
By the way, I just to close out the show, because I know I should probably take a little like responsibility here, but yeah, my website, davidduarte.org, has a lot of my resources on it. And again, those are things that I've probably stolen, designed, or like use all the time. But like I said, if you email me, probably the first thing you're going to get is like, here's my phone number. Please text me like a human. Please don't call, because I don't know how to talk. And there's our Instagram @culture B4 content. But that's really just to follow the show. But you know, again, as thank you for being the host for today. And you know, I look forward to a lot of things, but let's thank, you know, Patrick, our producer, Ben, our director, Laura, our administrative person, because there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make this happen. This is definitely, I wish I could say that I've made this successful, but it is a team and a team effort, and much love to all the people who make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for coming.
See you next week, episode 101.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Before Content, part of the Music for All podcast network. For more on this show and our other great podcasts, visit musicforall.org/podcasts. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guest are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Music for All, its sponsors, partners, or affiliates. We appreciate Music for All for supporting educators and making conversations like this possible. For Music for All, I'm David Duarte. Thanks for being a part of our culture today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.